We begin this story with me, 15-year-old me, which is me like a year ago. It was sophomore year at my high school, and I started off the year pretty rough. During the summer, I would play video games day and night. I would not have a routine for myself, and my sleep schedule was not it. Usually teenagers are supposed to get 9 to 12 hours, but we know most of us don't do that. And I was included in that group for a while. I eventually started to see the error of what I was doing in the disorganization. I watched one self-help video by Teaching Men's Fashion. Many of you probably know that. And I started to learn. I started to develop. I started out with exercise routines. I started off with taking care of my skin more, probably being more self-conscious, but what teenager really isn't at any time. And I had a schedule for myself. I began sophomore year being confused and being lost, but I ended sophomore year in way much of a higher place. Now, it is now my junior year, and I have begun to be more organized. I'm more on top of my grades than I was last year, and I'm developing more of a personality. But it wasn't that simple. I didn't just hop on a train and go straight towards self-improvement. It took many steps, and here I am to tell you those. See ya. I believe my experience over time developed with the way I was thinking and my thinking patterns. How I noticed this is I was always focused on what I could get now. I was always focused on the next game I could play. I would rage at most things. I know we all have experience getting mad at Fortnite because you get boxed and get destroyed. But overall, it was just disorganization, and I'm looking back on it, and yes, it was an important time in my life. It is important as teenagers for us to have fun, have hobbies, have interests, but my mind kind of opened up for a little bit, and it was like I could be doing things that could better myself once I do become an adult. So I reflected. I started to think, why am I doing these things? Why am I not having a routine schedule? Why am I not getting the amount of time that I'm supposed to sleep for? Why am I eating junk food constantly? Although junk food is really good, and we don't really have to watch our weight as teenagers. I know some of us may do that, but I know most people have fast metabolisms. But I was like, why was I so disorganized? Can't there be something better? Can't I switch my life around from the better part, from things that I can't control? So I started to do that. I started to think more clearly. I started to think more in depth about the things that I was doing. I started to think, how is this going to have a long-term impact? How can this help me? Is this going to benefit me, or is this just something for now? And eventually, I stopped playing games less, and I started to get outside more. I stopped focusing on what I could get now, and I started focusing on what I could develop and the skills I could develop over time. I do believe that any person can take any path they want. Everybody has different opinions, but in my eyes, the best path to take was bettering myself and leveling up. That way, I would carry skills now onto adulthood, like I have stated previously. Mental state is very important with all of the psychology aspects of us being teenagers and us trying to find our role in the world and how we belong, to us not wanting to feel isolated, or our temporal lobes, the part of our front brain, not being fully developed, and then us taking risks like jumping off a rock ledge and almost dying in GTA 5. But yeah, now we will move on to part 2. Me mess up those fingers. You didn't see that. So far this year, my grades have started improving. I've started actually remembering what I'm learning instead of just being unpresent in class, and I've disconnected quite a lot. Over time, I have seen that all it really takes is you putting your full potential out there. Me starting my sophomore year halfway through and just getting dropped, it did make me feel disorganized, it did make me feel weird. But when you plan ahead, when you start to organize things before they even start, when you start looking up the material before you're even in the class, it helps out so much. And then when you have the motivation, the determination to keep on that streak, it becomes what you are. Determination, all those things that keep you up within the world just depends on your outlook on it. Just like positivity. I could totally think of, I don't want to be at school today. I'd much rather just be home. I think I'm going to sleep in today. My phone is better. I'm not going to listen to the teacher. I'm just going to listen to music on my AirPods. No. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people are like that. I'm not going to yuck your yum, because if you still get good grades, if you still work on the work and do that, okay, it's your cup of pudding. But I'm just saying personally, it is harder for me to focus when I am not fully present, when I am not fully engaged in the conversation, when I don't make a personal connection with my teacher, when I don't make connections with the material to the outside world. I forget about it, and that's all.